We start 2009 in the midst of a crisis unlike any we have seen in our lifetime, a crisis that has only deepened over the last few weeks. Many families cannot pay their bills or their mortgage. Many workers are watching their life savings disappear. And many, many Americans are both anxious and uncertain of what the future will hold.
When President Barack Obama took office back in 2009, he inherited one of the biggest economic crises in American history. But if Joe Biden is elected president in November, he will be inheriting perhaps an even bigger financial crisis. Biden will have to convey to the American people how exactly he plans to revive the country. This week, we got a glimpse into what's influencing Joe Biden during this moment. In a statement responding to Trump's outrageous claim Biden would somehow hurt God, Biden said his faith has been a guiding light in this moment of darkness, pain, division, and sickness in the country. Joining me now is Bishop William Barber, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign and author of We Are Called to Be a Movement. I am so happy to chat with you today. Thank you so much for being here, Bishop.
Thank you so much, and glad that you're on in this slot.
Thank you. So you have really been focused on the Democrats in this particular moment. And I think that's a really important place to start, because I think, we're at the point where we kind of know what Donald Trump is about. We know what the Republicans are about. They are trying to fight over liability protections in this current moment instead of actual help for the American people. But what can Democrats do to push the Republicans in Congress to at least pass something? Because, there is no moratorium on evictions anymore. People are losing their unemployment benefits, and they will be evicted with no money for food, and they will have no recourse. So what can Democrats do to put pressure on their Republicans on the other side to actually get something done?
Well, Democrats, I believe, have to put a face on what's happening. They have to truly expose what they're doing. And we have to add to that McConnell. McConnell has blocked fixing the Voting Rights Act today for 2,601 days. McConnell and Trump together, we have to say what they're doing, show the public. They want another $250 billion tax break. They want to give $28 million more to the military. They want legal immunity for corporations who hire workers in unsafe conditions. On top of the fact that the wealthy and the greedy have already made $755 billion in this pandemic. And starting off, they were wrong because they gave $2 trillion, almost 83% of all the money in the first three acts, to corporations and not to people. We have to contrast that and expose that hypocrisy and say that's what they want to do, while 30 million workers have lost their unemployment, 27 million more people without health care on top of 87 million people who were already underinsured or uninsured. Democrats have to put a face on that. And that's what the Poor People's Campaign continues to say, that poor and low-wealth people are hurting and dying in this pandemic unnecessarily. And they were dying before this pandemic. And we should put a face on the 140 million poor and low-wealth people, what they are experiencing, and recognize that that's where you can expand the electorate and change the outcome of this election. It's poor and low-wealth people, whether they be in Appalachia or Alabama. And Democrats have to put a face on this. They have to show how ugly, how mean, how miserable, and the kind of mayhem. And they have to not just do it with Trump, they have to label it on McConnell. McConnell. Last Monday, we had a Moral Monday march on McConnell digitally. Almost 200,000 people showed up, and we put in 8,000 calls into his office to shut it down in less than an hour. We have to focus on him. We have to focus on what's really going on in the lives of everyday people.
In terms of the moral courage that our elected leadership has displayed in this moment, I feel like, the Republicans have not shown any. focusing on liability protection. And to your point, people are going to work in unsafe conditions. And in the beginning of this pandemic, the debate was over, quote unquote, reopening the economy. But I was like, wait, the virus is still out there and there's no vaccine. So we can't reopen anything. I mean, things are open. You can still shop and get all of the things that you need for your family if you have those resources. But reopening schools or reopening the economy isn't something we should be talking about until we do the science right. So it feels like the moral courage in this moment could improve as well, because I think we're just talking about completely the wrong things most of the time.
That's right. Well, Republicans, and I call them extremists. I don't really call them Republicans. They're surely not Lincoln Republicans and even Eisenhower Republicans. What they have tended to focus on moral issues is being for prayer in the school and being against women's right to choose and being against gay people and being for tax cuts, which actually have no basis in our deepest moral religious values or our deepest constitutional values. They have said that what their focus is corporations. What their focus is money. What their focus is the people at the top. That's why we could have fixed all of this in the first 3 CARES bill. What Democrats have to do is not play Republican light and not play that game at all. They have to expose that even before COVID, Republicans did not care about the poor and the lower people. Democrats will be stronger if they focus there and put a face on what's really happening in this country.
I think that's such a smart point. Thank you, Bishop William Barber, for joining us this morning. I'm so happy to talk to you, and I hope we can chat again very soon.